Hello guys. You are on the channel Alice Reddit Stories. Enjoy watching. I'm 35, my husband is 37. We have two sons, 8 and 11. I recently got my hours switched, so I'm working afternoons, but luckily my in-laws watch them most days after school, but 2 days out of the school week my husband goes into work early so he can get out early and be home with them. When this began, he started making a point to do something fun with them every afternoon he's with them. Not always something big. Sometimes just a fun activity at home or going to play football at the park, a hike, etc. They always have a really good time. A lot of the time my kids tell me that my youngest son's best friend Oliver comes along. I just assumed that either Oliver's parents were coming or my husband was watching all three of them. Today, I was looking through some photos my older son took and saw the same woman in a lot of them, talking to my husband. I asked my son who it was, and he said it was Oliver's babysitter, 25F, and she comes with them regularly, as in, nearly every time. When I asked my husband why he didn't tell me about it, he seemed genuinely confused and asked me who I thought was coming along, and I told him. He just shrugged and was like, "Well, she's been coming." I asked for clarification on how often, and he was like, "Well, basically every time Oliver comes with us somewhere." I don't know exactly why, but I feel weird he didn't tell me about this. But he seems to genuinely taken aback that I didn't know/realize it, that I don't know if he's being genuine or just wants to act like it's not a big deal, so I don't act like it's a big deal. I've asked my sons. They don't say much about her other than her and Dad talk a lot, and one of my sons talks about how she has pretty hands. I told my husband that I was kind of bothered by this, and he seemed kind of annoyed. He was like, "I don't know what you expect me to do. She's the kid's babysitter and our son insists on having the kid come with us, so she needs to come too." So I told him that was fine, but I just wanted to know about it. And he answered that he didn't get bothered when the boys had playdates and the dads would come over, and it would just be me or them, or when we needed drives to soccer practice and one of the dads drove us. He says he thinks me being bothered by this is just because he's a man, but I think it's more of the fact that it was something I had no idea about. I had no clue she was there coming with them, and only found out because of that. Picture I saw. Hi, I posted yesterday, first post. My husband, 37M, didn't tell me that my son's best friend's babysitter, 25F, was coming with them to nearly every single one of their outings. I was a bit upset by this because I had no idea who she was, that she was spending all of this time with them. I found out by looking through photos my son took of their most recent hike and seeing her there. My husband was acting really nonchalant about it, acting really surprised that I saw anything odd about it. He immediately dropped the issue, but I wasn't sure if he wasn't making it a big deal, so I didn't make it a big deal. He was acting completely normal last night, and then as I was cleaning up the kitchen I overheard him talking to his friend from his office. I had the kitchen window open and he must have opened up his office window. I overheard him saying how he thinks he's all good now, he thinks she's dropped it. That was the only I heard, and I assumed I was the she he was talking about. I know it was nothing damning, but between the situation of him not telling me about the babysitter and then this, I had my suspicions way up. This morning I went through his phone. I know it wasn't the right thing to do, but I just had such a bad gut feeling. I did find her in his phone, but all of the messages with the exception of one that was sent this morning and is asking if he has the boys today or not, but I did find messages about her between him and his brother, talking about her. My husband absolutely gushes about her, like an obsessed little boy. He says how funny and amazing she is, how beautiful her eyes are, how much he loves her laugh. There's one point where he says that he thinks one of our sons has a crush on her, and his brother replied something along the lines of "Can't imagine where he gets that from, it must run in the family." I'm completely crushed. I didn't talk to him about any of this yet because I barely spoke to him at all this morning before he left for work. I don't know if I should confront him or Leah or his brother, or if I should just pack my stuff and go. Sorry I didn't update sooner, it's been a long awful night. I got out of work early and went to the park and they were there. When I got there I saw she was wearing one of my husband's hoodies, and that's when I basically knew everything I thought was confirmed. It was a hoodie that he had bought on a vacation we had gone to as a family. I don't know why, but that's still the thing that I keep going back to, is that she was wearing his hoodie. As I was driving up to the park, I was watching them, and if you didn't know them or who they were, you would have thought they were one big family. That's how they were interacting. It honestly made me sick seeing how familiar she was with my husband and my kids when I didn't even know who she was. I watched them for a minute and then I saw my husband put his hand around her waist, literally right there in front of our kids, and I saw red. When I went into the park, my oldest son saw me first and said something to my husband. He walked over to me and asked me if I really left work early to come spy on him, and I told him yeah I did. And I was glad I did because I saw him playing happy family with my kids and a random woman. And he told me I was overreacting, that they were playing in the park. He had put his hand on his waist to steady her because she was about to fall, and she was wearing his hoodie because it was unexpectedly cold out. Everything he had an answer for. At some point Leah came over and said it was clearly not a good time and that she was going to take Oliver home. I said something along the lines of, "You're wearing my husband's hoodie and playing with my kids and you're not even going to introduce yourself to me?" And right in front of her my husband flipped out on me and called me rude, telling me that this is exactly why he hadn't introduced me to Leah, and then goes to her. This is what I deal with every ********ing day. She just looked at me and told me her name and then told my husband she'd talk to him later and went to go get Oliver. At this point our boys came back over and asked why Oliver and Leah were leaving, and my husband just told them to get in the car and told me we'd talk about it more at home. When we got there he flipped out on me. He told me that I had embarrassed him and the boys. And of course they defended him 100% and were completely upset at me that I had made Oliver leave and them come home early. I told him that if he wasn't going to act trustworthy, hiding what he was doing / with who, deleting texts, being touchy / with another woman, then I wasn't going to treat him with trust. I told him I didn't trust him because it seemed like he had feelings for Leah and was trying to hide it from me, when he really lost it, and he told me that yes, he has feelings for her. How could he not? Look at the way I treated him. I asked him for clarification. How deep were his feelings for Leah? He wouldn't answer. So I asked him if he'd ever done anything with her. And he said yeah, they kissed a few weeks back. And he was still trying to process all of it and how he felt about her. I lost it and started yelling at him, and he didn't try to defend himself. But once I started calling her names, he told me to shut up and keep her out of it. Anytime I said something bad about her, he flipped out on me, and I think that's what hurt the most, was him not caring at all about my feelings or anything like that. But whenever I would say things that were true, like how she was a home wrecker or anything, he suddenly becomes all gallant about defending her honor. Right now I'm staying with my sister since my sons don't want anything to do with me along with my husband. I'm going to go back over there today while the boys are at practice. Update 3. Thank you to everyone for your kind words of advice and support. This isn't a situation a few days ago I ever dreamed I would be in. I haven't slept more than 4 hours since all of this started, and I feel completely numb and empty. I went back home yesterday and my husband was there, since my in-laws had taken the kids to practice. I told him I had a lot of questions and I just wanted him to answer honestly. I asked him if he wanted to be married to me, and he answered honestly and said no. I asked him how long he had been in love with Leah, and he had said for a few months. I asked him if he was ever going to tell me, and he said that he was, but he didn't know when the best time would be. I asked if they had slept together, and he said no, they had only kissed, but he wasn't very convincing when he said that. I asked if / what the boys knew, and he said he didn't think our youngest knows anything, but that our oldest son might have noticed some things and might have an idea what's going on. He's going to be living in the apartment we have in the basement. I'm going to speak to a lawyer on Monday and preemptively put myself and the kids in therapy. Made him show me all messages that he had screenshots of, and he showed them to me. They were hidden in a folder within a folder in his email, so even if I went through his phone, I wouldn't have found them unless I knew exactly where to look. This wasn't just a physical affair, he has deep feelings for her. I think the hardest part for me is the fact that our sons were involved. That's the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. There are many interesting stories ahead of you.